Hello and welcome to All About Steam, Episode 11, the GWR 57XX Pannier tank. The GWR 5700 class, or the 57XX class, was a class of 060 Pannier tank steam locomotive built by the Great Western Railway and British Railways between 1929 and 1950. With 863 built, they are the most prolific class of the GWR, and one of the most numerous classes of British steam locomotive. Although officially designated by GWR as light goods and shunting engines, they are also used for passenger work on branch lines, suburban, and shorter mainline journeys. They were distributed across most of the GWR network, and after nationalization of the railways in 1948, across the British Railways Western region and also other regions. The 57XXs were not as glamorous as the GWR Castles and Kings, but became just much as an icon for the GWR. As a result of the 1955 modernization plan, the 5700 class was withdrawn from BR service between 1956 and 1966. 19 withdrawn locomotives were sold to the London Transport Industry, 10 of which were later preserved, along with 6 that were retrieved from scrapyards. The GWR started designing and building 060 Pannier tanks in 1860, and this continued into the BR era until 1956, with a total of 2,393 being built. The GWR also used 060 tank locomotives from other manufactured designs from its subsidiary and absorbed railway stock, and since 1898 it had at least 1,000 tank locomotives in stock. The early 060 tanks were fitted with either side tanks wrapped over the boiler, or side tanks mounted at the side of the boiler. Saddle tanks wrapped over the boiler, or side tanks mounted at the side of the boiler, reaching down to the running platform. GWR first fitted Pannier tanks mounted on the side of the boiler, but not reaching down to the running board. 1898 to 9 440 tank locomotives. 440 tank locomotives, And in 1901 to 5 060T locomotives, which were fitted with Belpaire fireboxes. The shape of the Belpaire firebox gave a larger surface area, which improves heat transfer and steam production, but their rectangular shape makes them hard to combine with the saddle tanks. Locomotives fitted with Pannier tanks had lower center of gravity than those with saddle tanks, enabling higher speeds on curves. But the locomotives fit with Pannier, enabling higher speed on curve, and access for maintenance is easier than those fitted with side tanks. George Churchward's period as chief mechanical engineer in 1901 through 21 is well known for significant improvements in locomotive design and manufacture, and development of standard designs. However, the scope of the standard designs did not include the 060 tank locomotive, and the GWR did not introduce any 060 type tank designs from 1897 to 1928, with the exception of the 1361 class of 5 060 saddle tanks in 1910. However, Pannier tanks and bell pair fireboxes became the standard for rebuilding of various 060 tank locomotives projected in 1902 and fully getting underway in 1910. The rebuilding program also included a number of other changes, including improved cab designs, eventually becoming fully enclosed, superheating, which by 1929 had been found to have little benefit on shunting engines, adaptation for working with auto coaches for push-pull trains, auto working, increased boiler pressure. With the completion of grouping in 1923, GWR's collection of 060 locomotives were expanded with the stock from 28 acquired companies. The acquired tank locomotives came from different manufacturers, were a mixture of side, saddle, and pannier, and varied widely by size and slate of repair. In addition, GWR stock was wearing out, and the variety of classes was problematic for maintenance and rostering. Collett had to produce a new standard design for 060 Pannier tank. The result was the 57XX class. First batch of 300 locomotives built between 1929 and 1931 included a medium-height chimney, a mid-boiler dome, safety valve with cover, and enclosed cab. The boiler included a top feed between the chimney and the dome. Let's see if we can find it. No. That's probably the top feed right there. Anyway. They were a similar appearance to the older 060 tank engines that had been built and have been rebuilt as Pannier tanks. Particularly in the later rebuilds, the 2721 class. The 2721 class was itself a development of the 1854 class, which in turn was based on the 645 class. The 5700s were given by the GWR route color blue. Were given the GWR route color blue based on axle load, and were the GWR Power Group C based on tractive effort. Classifications were shown on the cab with the letter C in a blue disc. I got a yellow one. The first 5700 class were built in 1929 by North British Locomotive Co. and later in the year GWR Cement Works. Between 1929 and 1931, a total of 300 were built, of which 50 were built by the GWR and the rest outside contractors. Time for the cab tour. Here we have the regulator. Here we have the reverser. We have our long whistle. It's probably the whistle guard's whistle, but this is the short whistle. We have our blower. Train brake. Back here we have a lamp, cab light. We have the handbrake seat. Over there we have something. There's a lever over there. I don't know what it does. Live steam injector, blower. Another live steam injector, driver's side, steam isolation. Trying to look for something moving. Oh, there it is. I did not see that. Anyways, we have the Senator Coxsack there. We have the firebox. Have the doors to the cab and the shutters. Of course, the windows open and close. See ya. Okay, on August 29th, August 1940, a bombing raid destroyed a goods shed in Borsley, West Midland during the raid at Peter Smout. You know what? Just for fun, we're going to make a stop here. Wait. Overrun. Oh well. That's a Grange. Okay. During the raid, Peter Smout, a 18-year-old engine cleaner who was acting as the fireman on a shunter, volunteered to drive number 7758 to pull wagons out of the blazing goods shed. He made 3 more trips. He was assisted by Frederick Blay, a wagon examiner and Navy veteran from World War I, who operated the points levers. Once they were finished, the right-hand side of the footplate was too hot to touch, and Blake had to use his hat to work on the points, as the levers were also too hot to touch. Both men were awarded the George Medal for their courage. December 7th, 1961, a locomotive of the class was in a collision with a freight train at Broadman General Station, Cornwall, due to a faulty signal failing to give clear danger aspect. (1957) XXs were sold for further use after being withdrawn by British Railways. The National Coal Board bought 5, which one was bought by PD Fuels and 13 were bought by London Transport. One locomotive, number 9642, was withdrawn in 1946 and sold to Hayes Scrapyard. It was used for 3 years to shunt other locomotives being scrapped and was later saved for preservation. 16 5700 classes have been preserved, of which 6 are currently in operation. 4 of the class have worked on the mainline trains. Of 2020, none of the engines are mainline certified. 7752 is operational, but only on heritage railways, while 7715, 7760, and 9600 are stored out of service awaiting overhauls. 2 locomotives are on static display, and 2 are in store. 6 locomotives are undergoing or waiting for maintenance. 1 locomotive, number 9629, is being restored and has not been in steam since it was sent to Barry Scrapyard in 1965. A number of those bought by London Transport, which had been maintained by British Railways, were still in running order and were used on heritage railways with minimal work. Number 5764, London Transport L95, was steamed the day it arrived at Bridgenorth on the Severn Valley Railway, being lit up before it was removed from the low loader on which it was delivered. As of June 2018, numbers 7752, London Transport L94, and 5786, London Transport L92, can be seen running in the maroon livery of London Transport, but number 7715, London Transport L99, is currently out of service. number 5775. We have 5779 on the Kingley and Worth Valley Railway, featured in the film. The railway children, painted brown and relettered with GN and SR, Great Northern and Southern Railway. In May 2014, number 5775 was moved to the National Railway Museum, Shildon, for cosmetic restoration back to the livery used in the film. Now 5775 also featured in the Full Steam Behind episode of the Last Summer Wine series behind 5 in its LT livery number L98, but with London Transport replaced with GWR on the side of the tank. Kingley and Worth Valley Railway. Duck in the Great Western series, and Duck, the Great Western engine in the Railway series, books by Reverend W. Aldrey. In the TV series, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends is a 5700 class Pannier tank. In the book, his number was changed to 5741. For the TV series, it was changed to number 8. Number 5764 appeared several times in the 1976 BBC television adapted to Charles Dickens' short ghost story, The Signalman. And mainline railways had 00 gauge class 57 models in their catalogs in 1982 through 30, with models in GWR green and BR black. Bachmann branch line has made a 00 gauge model of the 5700 and 8750 class in various GWR and BR liveries, and also in the liveries of London Transport, NBC, National Code Board, Stevenson Clark, and even Great Northern Southern Railway, the fictional railway company in the Railway Children. Hornby produced various 00 gauge models of the 8750 class and GWR and LT liveries. Just gonna let it run here for a second. I'm actually gonna stop at this station. Sure, that's good enough. There we go. And do that too. Anyways, thank you all for joining me in this episode. And to leave off, what do we have here? And we have a hall to leave off with right next to us. That is beautiful. Alright, anyways, see you on the next one. Peace.